Hi there again, everybody. Welcome back to Prestige Auctions. It's aftermath time, and what a great auction it was. Through Friday, through viewing, through all of the commission bids and everything else, the 1,600 people that came through the door on Friday as well to view the auction, we had a fantastic day yesterday. The room was busy from start to finish, loads of great bargains. Some stuff made some really good money. Some people walked out the door smiling as they've got some real treats and some real bargains, which is great. So, we love doing the auctions for you every single Saturday and bringing you the stuff that we do. Well, without any further ado, let's have a look at what happened during the auction. Well, we sold loads of stuff. Now, we started off with, we said there Lord and Lady Maureen when they was in the 20s, but we're not quite sure it was. Then we moved on to these clocks. Well, the clocks were absolutely fantastic. Now, we knew that some of these would be £4 lots. We knew some would be £40 lots. That's the way it goes when it comes to these kind of things. The clocks can be hard to sell. And some of them had some damage as well. But we came through, got through all the clocks, went through all the boxes of assorted, and what we noticed, I think it was 160, 170 odd lots before we even, maybe even more, before we even had a not sold yesterday. So it was coming through the box of assorted, all the wool sold well, the toothbrushes sold, and we got back on some more clocks. There was a bit of interest in this one. Looked like a lady had come into the room to buy this one, which is the Old Smith's Sooty and Sweep clock, and quite a nice thing it is too. When we came down here, there was money as well, 20-something pound for the Grimsby Town share, which was quite nice. And then we came on to some of these clocks. Now, one or two of these clocks up here I thought were quite cheap. There was one or two of these carriage clocks that I'd pointed out during the sneak peek that were quite good. Don't forget about those. They did £80-85, something like that. Those little candle holders, quite nice pieces. As we come down this way, we come on to the dolls and things, and then we came on to boxes of assorted. Lots of boxes assorted. Lots of money for the boxes of assorted, though. Lots of people were interested in buying those this week. The old policeman's uniforms there as well. They sold, didn't make much money. And then we came onto the birds. Well, the birds was lovely taxidermy, modern taxidermy, before anyone jumps up and down about, pre-certificate stuff and all the rest of it. This is modern taxidermy, this one, sort of standard ducks and geese and things like that. But these had been done to one hell of a standard. And that showed in the prices. These were making really good money. Thing is, if you're after this sort of stuff, it's a lot of taxidermy that I've seen over the years while I've been in this industry, some of it's just not been done very well. Usually have a go, people, but these, the breasts all stuck out on them really well. They was quite firm. The feathers were in the right places. Everything about this stuff was really quite good. It's not my favourite subject, but at the end of the day, people do like it, so there you go. Bears sold quite well. We got onto the Merrythought Golly, and then we got onto the Charlie Bears, and some of these were making sort of as much as £40 each. One or two Stifes in there, which I always go on about, don't seem to make the money that they used to, unless it's the really old stuff. As we came down here, what did we do next? The odd boxes of crockery and things, and then, boxes of Kerrang papers and what have you. All this stuff was selling. Even all this was selling. I think at this point we'd still not had a not sold. Not much money for the Murano fish, so be careful with those, guys. Be careful when you're looking at finding these things in the charity shops on the boot sales. They were only making a few pounds, so don't get too hung up on those. More clocks were selling. Then we came onto this, which was the Royal Worcester. Now there isn't as much money about for this stuff these days as what there used to be. There's no doubt about that. But ultimately, the stuff did sell. The Royal Crown Derby bits and bobs, again, not loads of money, not the best patterns, all of them. These little animals and things that they do, some of these sell quite well, some don't. It's all about the stopper in the back. So if it's a gold stopper, they're usually the better ones. So always look out for the stopper. Some have no stopper. The Lorna Bailey stuff did okay, but if you did look there, if you look closely, there is some damage to that teapot top. Now, people did recognise that and didn't bid as much as they did for this one, which, some of her stuff, and I always think she's like the modern day Clarice Cliff. Her stuff is really quite good gear. As you came down here, More interesting bits, more clocks and things. These clocks did quite well. That was the first ornate one with the box as well. And again, I think that was £80 odd, that one. And then there was a little bell ringer one next to it, which did about £40 odd, I believe that was, which is quite nice. Then we came down here. Country Rose, we were selling the Russian dolls. All of this sold quite well. I'd just nipped off to the toilet, I think, at this point, and Lisa was selling this, and then I came back, carried on, sold the embossers, sold the pellets. It was £9. Again, all these things I say to people all the time, before you start chucking stuff away on house clearances, think about the auction. Think about, could I make a few quid on this? So, put this stuff into the auction rooms. The cabinet wasn't rammed this week. It had a few bits in, a few quality bits. The Goliath clock there sold okay. I think that was about £40 odd. The old plane there, £50-60, which is quite a nice one. We did a feature video on that. I never even knew they made mobile phones this small, and they had lots of stories about prisons and things, which I really didn't want to hear. But there you go. I've learned something this weekend. We had the silver coins, the silver pound coins. And then the bit of a sleeper there was 353, was the 9-carat gold cased watch, which did about, from what I remember, £200-300, something like that. Again, nice piece, that one. Bits of silver and things, they was all selling. Somewhere around the scrap prices. That's usually where they're going to be. There weren't super special pieces. Then we got onto the back shelves. We were selling Kenwood chefs and boxes of assorted and all sorts of bits and bobs. And it was all kind of selling, considering there's 1,400 odd lots, I think we only had about 140 that didn't sell in the end. Because, of course, remember, we do carry on selling it after the hammer. What I mean by that is we have a hammer down policy during the auction, but if somebody comes up and wants to buy a not sold, then it's £4 plus commission, as long as, of course, there's no reserve on it. So there's another way that you can buy from Prestige Auctions. We got onto the side wall, and sadly the dog didn't sell unless he sold afterwards. The KLM houses, they was over £100 again this time, and there is a reason for that, and it's because they are quite expensive and they're quite collectible. So Tilly lamp, that one sold. The phones, they all sold, not for much money. There was another plane in there. Look, that one did sort of 40 odd quid, something like that. So again, but there's still profits to be made in that. Don't get put off by higher prices all the time, because some of these things can still be sold. Some of the people missing out on some of these Hoovers and things that could have been selling on Facebook Marketplace. Records were selling well yesterday, and all of these kind of collectibles, these gaming things and old games and different bits and bobs like this was all selling yesterday in the sale. I don't think any of these went unsold, although they didn't make a fortune. So when you came down here, that one did a few quid. There was a few bids for that one on the book, and then we came on to sort of some of this special stuff on the front table. Well, some of these crockery sets were doing £100 odd each. Yeah, some of the Bezic horse and hounds there, it wasn't a Bezic horse. Some of the hounds were, I think the fox was as well, but they did have some damage. All of this stuff here, every piece of this sold. Once we got on to, where was it? This one here, this plated ware. It was by a good maker, so it did make some fair money. And we had some good bids on the books for this, and they got took out. They got took out by the room, which I've got to say shocked the hell out of me. But when I looked at those bids pre-sale, I thought, wow, these are good bids. But there were still more bids in the room for it. They were particularly nice, those candelabras, and then you got on some of these collectibles here, and then we got onto the Worcester, that all sold. Those cups sold. Bit of money for lead crystal this week as well. One or two people bidding up on that. The Mangle sold okay, 20 something pounds, an old Triangle one, and the old Crane did 24 as well. Then we got onto some of the Hornsey stuff. Dealers in the room for that. It was cheap, that Hornsey this week, and which is good. For the dealers, not so good for the vendors, but the stuff like that goes hot and cold. So we came down the middle of the room. I quite like that little thing there with the Garfield in it. And then the rugs, they were all selling. They were quite cheap at sort of 14, 16 quid for all of those film cells there. The mannequin, £42 this week. That was the second week on the trot. We had one of those, exactly the same. Hoovers, again, relatively cheap. As we come down then and look at all this, through the middle of the room, and then we got onto the milk chains, which were sort of done in the badgeware pattern. 2 of those, £50 a piece on those, and then we came down the auction. Various boxes of assorted, and I think Lisa had taken over at this point. So I would gone off to have a hot dog and a cup of tea or something while she sold all this. And I don't know how much that made. I wanted to bid on that myself. I love that picture. Great Lowry print, that one. And as we came down here, Lisa was selling all this. So again, I can't really say much on that because I wasn't in the room at the time. I know she sold all the teddies again, all these big bags of teddies that keep coming. And I had taken over again as we went into the tool room. So the tool room was what it was. There's nothing amazing in there this week, I don't think. A lot of old tools and some petrol blowers and things. But again, all of this stuff, I mean, there was like £30 I think for that chainsaw and that little barbecue thing it said on there, which is a bit different, which is a Rotel baby gas barbecue. I mean, I would imagine something like that would be a few quid. There was some cacti in there as well, and then we had the dog blankets there for keeping them cool. Few people in bidding on hose reels and things. These sort of tools, some of these single tools aren't making the money that they used to. Boxes of brand new stuff, they was all selling. It really was. There really was some good bargains to be had in some of the big mixed boxes this week. For the buyers and the sellers, they would have been making a few quid on some of the stuff that they bought this week. Anyway, as we carried on coming down the sale down here, we got through all the tools. We got onto the bikes. Again, there was bids for the bikes this week. Not quite as big as there was last week, but, you know, the bikes wasn't as good, but there was still good quality. Sets of steps were selling. Lots of bids in the room again for garden items. Things like bird baths and concrete ornaments. I mean, as you come down here, I think you come, let me just get to where they are. This sort of stuff here. So we got onto these garden ornaments. These, I mean, £40 for those school planters. That one sold by mistake. The guy didn't mean to buy it. And then there was plenty of bids for this one as well. £11.82, the little gargoyle thing there. Again, people are looking for things a little bit different to put in the gardens rather than just the bog standard stuff that you buy or see in the garden centres every day. As we came through to the front table, well, it was always going to sell some of the good stuff on there because we had the Royal Crown Derby plates, and we had the coins, and we had the note collections, and then we had the scales and that one there. Now that one there was again to look out for, guys. If you see this sort of stuff in the charity shops or on the boot sales or whatever, and it's cheap, pick it up. It's old Royal Dalton Lambeth ware, and some of these can be worth a few quid. That one did 85 pounds in the auction yesterday. That was cheap. The Britain's tractor again, a little bit strange, the marketplace for those at the moment. They're not sort of making the money that they used to. I liked that. Where was it? That one there, the old Tricks train there. That's gone off to a new home, so somebody will be quite happy with that one. And then, it looks like the camera's frozen again. Just bear with me. Sorry about that, everybody. My camera keeps freezing. I don't know why. I'm going to have to have that one looked at. So we came down here. That one didn't make as much as I thought it might have done. And then the Spode Italian pattern there, that stuff did quite well. About 90 odd pounds, I think. 92 pounds. Still quite cheap, really. But again, not as popular as it used to be. These threw a few people. These here, these pewter plate warmers from 1820s. What was quite strange about those is that they had lions on the back. Now, some people maybe mistakenly thought they were silver. We don't believe there was. I think they were pewter, but people had different opinions on this one. But I think it shows you that the fact they only made 20 odd quid each tells you that they weren't silver. Anyway, still nice old collectibles. The dashboard out of the old Jag, that did a few quid as well. And that old till, look at that. I mean, it's a big old beast, that. And it's absolutely very heavy, but it needed work, but it still did was it 80-90 quid, I think? I can't really remember. Various prices for appliances this week. Some of the The washers did quite well at sort of 80 and 85 pounds. The cooker did well at 50, 60 quid. We then got onto the furniture. The clock was cheap. There was a few pounds in the room for these sort of hall stands, so people were buying that sort of stuff. And then as we come down here, we got onto beds. All the beds sold. Quite a good day for selling furniture, to be honest. I mean, our van is full with not solds today. However, you know, some of the things you can sometimes tell why they didn't sell. Maybe there's a stain that we didn't notice or whatever. But they were quite cheap this week. The Chesterfield chairs did have some little scratches on them, probably what put people off. But I want to say they were £76, £78 each, somewhere around there. And then as you come round here, we sold the bookcases, and then we're selling lots of this modern oak furniture sold okay. People do like that sort of thing. They like, look, a couple of dealers went head to head on that one there, that old piece of oak or whatever it is, nice piece, old piece, that one. And as we came down to the end, £100 for the keyboard there, the Casio, and then there was money for the china cabinet, these sort of blanket boxes and things. No money for that one. That one didn't sell. And then when you came down here, we had chairs and tables and things. And then, of course, earlier on in the sale, of course, the trailers, they all sold as well. Some of those were cheap money, I thought. Anyway, we also sold during the auction, let's not forget this, we also did the bit for charity this week for the young guy, and somebody bought the tattoo voucher for £400 in the sale, which was, so thank you Chris and Tracy for that one. I know that the lady's been in today to say thank you. We weren't here, sadly. Of course, then Prestige donated £50 on top as well to top up the fund a little bit. You know, we don't mind doing the odd thing for charity, and I'm more happy to do personal things like that than help out some of the bigger ones for my own personal reasons. Anyway, we've got another cracking week for you this week. So you buyers, you resellers, and everybody else in between, keep your eye on social media. We're going to be doing some filming tomorrow, of course, for the sneak peek. We are desperate to get some new faces onto the podcast. We just bought some new microphones. So we've got desk mics so we can get more people on the podcast at the same time, which will be quite good. And as always, thank you everybody for supporting us. And looking at, it's another new record on YouTube this week. 1,115 hours watched during the sale. That's hellish figures, but we do need you to hit that subscribe button. The more of you that subscribe, the more of you that hit the notification bell, the more of you that leave messages and comments and things, helps our channel grow. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help us out massively and get the word out all about Prestige Auctions. Our small family-run business in Grimsby, which we're extremely proud of. So thank you ever so much for everybody once again, and we'll see you all again very soon at the auction.